man who was mistaken. No, I'm not the Associate Dean for Faculty, Teaching and Learning. You're thinking of Gary Hawkins, is what I told the second person this week who thought I was Gary. Gary, who like me is bald and wears glasses. Gary, who 10 years ago in a desert airport was mistaken for Moby. Moby, who like me is bald and wears glasses. I am not Moby. I am the man who was mistaken for the man who was mistaken for Moby. I'm okay with that distinction, just like I'm not Jesus. But in 1996, I shared an apartment with a guy who would go to parties in Detroit and dance until his ankles bled. He came home once talking not about Moby, but the idea of Moby. I was trying to play a video game. It was Street Fighter, I think, and I was about to win the thing, which is when he said, you know that part in the song First Cool Hive where the music stops being music and starts being tongues of fire descending across the land? Which is when I said no, which is when he said, stop being cynical. I'm trying to say I had a spiritual experience, that the Spirit was inside the music. I'm talking about Jesus, which is when I said, wait, you think Moby is actually Jesus? Which is when he said, I think we all are, which is when my guy on the TV screen got his head kicked in and died. The game was over. I didn't know what he was talking about, but looking back, I realized that music and the Spirit are fused, like that point on the horizon where you can't tell the earth from the sky from the smokestacks that ignite them both. Am I saying that one face in the crowd could be any other face? Am I saying that we're not all that different? Am I saying that we are all connected? No, I'm saying my roommate ate a lot of drugs and would come home and say crazy shit. Once he thought our furnace was talking to him, which is when I said, why don't you tell me what the furnace was trying to say? Which is when he said, it said that me and it would always be enemies. Which is when I said, son, that's a fight you can never win. Which is when he said, okay, then went outside to dance on the hood of his car. Which is when the cops came. Perhaps he was right. Jesus was inside the music, and the music was inside my roommate, and the state could not tolerate it, so they sent their troopers to make him stop. What did the music tell him? It told him the world was on fire. He danced anyway. So many people in the world, and when they dance inside the pulse of smoke machines and strobe lights, I can't tell one from the next, from the next, from the next. There's a word for the fear of being unable to distinguish yourself in a place like this. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Moby. I'm not Gary Hawkins. I'm the guy who looks like that other guy. Him, the one who has changed, the one who could be someone else. The skull of an unidentified dinosaur does not belong to the dinosaur skeleton to which it has been attached. A man thought he made an amazing discovery. Now it's a towering mistake, one for which he'll likely lose his job, but only after taking this skyscraper of bones, with its eye sockets like windows to hell, apart. Femur by mandible. I know what it means to watch your good fortune change its mind. Like that time back in college when my friend's supermodel cousin invited us to a party and accidentally kissed me in the dark. She thought I was someone else. I have no idea who, but the gist of the story can be seen in her freaking out when the light ruined everything. For a moment, I thought I discovered a new world, and what a world it was, with its beaches of untouched skin and its moons that smelled of 100 flowers. I named that land I Could Live Here Forever land. And oh my God, I was wrong, land. Einstein says imagination is more important than knowledge. Certainly, it's kinder. I imagine the man who wired these dinosaur bones together must have imagined his vision was real, must have pictured it alive. Covered in flesh, the imagined life can also be terrifying, able to cleave you open with a swipe of a claw or devour you in seconds. But as it is now, having never existed, after tricking you into believing, it eats at you a little more slowly, lets you feel every new rip in your gut, makes you beg, what kind of animal is this? I call it the motherfuckerosaurus, and technically that's not the right name, but neither is the word that they've got stamped here now, in block letters, on a bronze plaque, screwed to the floor. This is about a place nearby where I used to live. Possum Drop. New Year's Eve, Brasstown, North Carolina. Around here, they don't flaunt a glitter-flushed disco ball over the town square. At midnight, they drop a possum. You heard me. I said possum. Welcome to North Carolina. Happy New Year. May your next year outshine the year of the possum, who is having a fine year, an anxious and shy year, yes, but otherwise fine, until he was chosen. In the name of tradition, entertainment, or superstition, the well-meaning of our civilization will do some freaked out things. I submit as evidence the launch of any new year, like the launch of a cruise ship. As it leaves port on its inaugural voyage, the noise must be extravagant. On New Year's Eve, in Romania, they wear bear costumes. In Johannesburg, furniture is flung from windows. Scarecrows burn in Ecuador. But in Brasstown, North Carolina, they drop a possum, one nervous marsupial, plucked from the pines, imprisoned in glass, and dangled above a mob scene of beer cans and black powder muskets, and then dropped, or gracefully lowered if you believe the spectators or believe there's anything graceful about frightening the already frightened. Here's another story. Instead of a possum, picture a lion. Rome, the Colosseum. On one side, a convicted man. On the other side, an appetite, endless teeth. Everyone knows who will win this contest, but in the rarest of games, the clamor of the crowd becomes so intense, the lion startles, backs away, too scared to attack. Can you see it? The captive with a stone in his hand, terrified. The muscled predator, all claw and fang, terrified. Do you recognize our story yet? Always that fear in the circle. Always that crowd, poised, ready. This one is called Astronomers Locate a New Planet, and it begins with a quotation from Reuters News from 8/25/2011 from an article that said, because it is so dense, scientists calculate the carbon must be crystalline, so a large part of this strange world will effectively be diamond. Like the universe's largest engagement ring, it twirls and sparkles its way through infinity. The citizens of the New World know about luxury. They can live for 1,000 years. Their hearts are little clocks with silver pendulums pulsing inside, eyes like onyx, teeth like pearl, but it's not always easy. They know hunger. They know starvation. A field made of diamond is impossible to plow. Shovels crumble and fold like paper animals. So frequent is famine that when two people get married, one gives the other a locket filled with dirt. That's the rare thing, the treasured thing there. It takes decades to save for, but the ground beneath them glows, and people find a way. On Earth, when my wife is sleeping, I like to look out at the sky. I like to watch TV shows about supernovas and contemplate things that are endless, like the heavens and maybe love. I can drink coffee and eat apples whenever I want. Things grow everywhere, and so much is possible. But on the news tonight, a debate about who can love each other forever and who cannot. There was a time when it would have been illegal for my wife to be my wife, her skin, my household of privilege. Sometimes I wish I could move to another planet. Sometimes I wonder what worlds are out there. I turn off the TV because the news rarely makes the right decision on its own. But even as the room goes blacker than the gaps between galaxies, I can hear the echoes. Who is allowed to hold the ones they wish to hold? Who can reach into the night? Who can press his or her own ear against another's chest and listen to a heartbeat telling stories in the dark? Janine had inspired me by reading an essay to read I was like, I'm going to read something that's not a poem then, and because I'm like 4, and if someone else is doing something, then I have to do it too. So I'm going to read, so I'm going to read a story, but it's very short. And this is the one that I said, I thought of it as a story, but it really feels like more like a blank, it feels more like a Yelp review for one of my favorite establishments. And it owes a debt to Tello Calvino and Dorian Locks as well. And this is called The Blanket Room. When I'm inconsolable, I like to go to the Blanket Room. A new one just opened at the Maple Heights Mall. They wrap you in a blanket and turn out the lights. Then someone comes in, brushes the hair from your eyes, and whispers something like, "Now, sweetie, everything is going to be just fine." When you leave, you feel renascent and hopeful again. It's like a spa. My friends say I'm becoming distant, that I rely on this too much. Nonsense. Balderdash. That's not it at all. Thing is, everyone occasionally needs a quick pick-me-up, so I clear out an hour or six from my day and zip on over to the mall with 50 or 60 bucks. Let's say you get passed over for that promotion. You're having trouble sleeping, or the Steelers lose. What time is it? Time for the blanket room. Then everything is okay again. Or maybe the problem is deeper and more malevolent. Police goose step down the street. The Republic decides to build a wall so patricians can stand on top and watch everything burn. These are the times when it's best to be swaddled in darkness, held by strong arms as a soothing voice says, "Hush now, it'll all work out. They'll do that for you at the blanket room." The most popular service, the one I prefer, is where they wrap you so firmly you can't even move, not your fingers or your toes. Sometimes it cuts off the circulation to your face and your lips go numb. It's a bit controversial, as nationally maybe 7 people have died so far, usually from dehydration. The blankets, some people ask to be wrapped in 4 or 5, holding all your body heat, and man, you just cook for a while. It's like sweating out a fever, only instead of a fever, you sweat out the beginning of time. In those moments when you're teetering on the edge and nearly blacking out, someone kisses you on the forehead and says, "Don't worry, dear one, it'll all be better in a moment," and you just know that you're in generous hands. It's particularly invigorating if they bring in the machine with the crank, the lever, and that giant wooden flywheel. With that, they can wrench the blankets around you so forcefully you hallucinate a little as the air is crushed from your lungs. It's the most effective treatment. I mean, when you're wounded, the bandage must be tight. And who isn't wounded these days? Wrapped in so many layers, it's easy to trick yourself into thinking you're in some kind of chrysalis or cocoon. I convince myself of this all the time, but cocoons can be complicated. Some are so seamless that the insect must gouge its way out. Others are injured with slender escape hatches, accessible only from the inside. But no matter the design, the interior roils like fire, and the change that occurs must be furious. It's just a cocoon, I tell myself, and like the insect remade inside that cocoon, I know when I get out, I will feel better, and the sky will be everywhere. This is called the Millihelen, and it begins with a definition. If you don't know what a millihelen is, the definition is, quote, unit for measuring beauty. 1 millihelen is the amount of beauty that will launch exactly 1 ship. And I got that definition from urbandictionary.com. Everyone knows about the beauty that launches 1,000 ships. Her hair unfurls like a flag, and the Navy, inflamed, will follow that flag until everyone is dead. There is power in that, we know, but what do we know about the power of the other, the one that launches exactly 1 ship? And what do we know of that 1 ship? It goes without kettle drums or cannon fire, without Achilles or Odysseus, without the blessings of the gods or even their scorn. No one notices. No epic poem will boast of its bravery. In fact, as it sails from the choked harbor, it sails straight out of history and into a night so unknowable, not even the blind eyes of Homer could guess where it would land. It would have been easier to stay with the fleet. There's confidence in numbers. Consider the armada of stars as they burn heaven above us, so certain as they scorch their way through infinity. Why should they bother to track a single vessel among all the waves? I'll tell you. In the story that launches 1,000 ships, beauty is a destination, something to crash toward. In the story that launches only 1, there is no destination. Beauty was there, among the wharves, with her simple scarves, at the beginning. A sailor and his joy stepped from the pier and into the fragile boat together. Why was there only 1? Because you, dear, said to the night, "I don't care about the rest." And I said, "Neither do I." And then the harbor was behind us. The Discipline Monkey. Today, 4 men disguised as medieval knights robbed a Renaissance festival. That's actually a true story. That sounds like something that I would make up for one of my poems, which I would, but that actually happened. Today, 4 men dressed as medieval knights robbed a Renaissance festival. At first, onlookers must have thought it was all part of the show, even when the knights smashed an axe handle into the face of a festival organizer, even when the blood looked real. The crowd must have figured at any moment the king and all his men would appear as if by magic. any moment now, even when the body on the ground kept bleeding. The king must be on his way to save his kingdom. What is a kingdom? For the past couple days, I've been cat-sitting for my friends Justin and Aaron. Justin told me the cats like to play with an old shoestring. You drag it across the floor. They think it's a copperhead and try to kill it. But when I try this, the cats just yawn and look bored. I call Justin, and he says, "You tell those little bastards if they don't play with the snake, Daddy will come home and release the discipline monkey. They'll know what that means." I have no idea what this means, but I pass the message along and immediately feel silly for talking to two cats about a discipline monkey. This is not the strangest thing I've done in my life, and I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I dressed up as a feudal lord or a wizard and pretended to be important, only to be rendered helpless as renegade knights bludgeoned the serfs and robbed the vassals. And that feeling would intensify if no royalty rode in on horseback. This is how the Greeks must have felt. The day Mount Olympus became just another mountain, so much thunder, so much stone under so much sky, and no one left to throw sparks from above. I imagine a disciplined monkey could be a chimpanzee who has trained for years to repress his most basic instincts. He can sit still for hours, stack blocks on top of each other, and if he wanted to, he could evolve, walk upright, feel empathy, donate a kidney, save someone's life. If he wanted to, he could curl his fingers around a flanged mace and leave a world in ruin. We are capable of so much good and terrible. I tell Justin and Aaron's cats that a monkey can put on the clothes of another monkey and pretend he's someone else. I want to believe they're listening, but who can tell? I want to believe. And Darwin once said, "Let each man hope and believe what he can." Is this the thing that sets us apart? The ability to hope and believe there is a king, even if that king is invisible, or wearing a costume, or in hiding and unwilling to be found? This next one came up in a conversation earlier. I don't know how this comes up in a conversation, but the skull of a unicorn. It might be a hoax. That's what they're reporting. It might be a hoax. Not is a hoax, not definitely, not obviously, not clearly, certainly, undeniably, irrefutably, incontestably, or even what are you talking about? Of course this is a hoax. Instead, the unicorn skull might be a hoax. Did you hear about how the word might became the single greatest word in the English language? It happened about 15 seconds ago. Might. Such a beautiful ambiguity. The way it leaves the door open, just a smidge. No one gets excluded. It welcomes all into its home. Doubters, cynics, and those who just crave the relentless possibility that there's something enchanted, however tenuous, however unlikely, buried in this land. Between the Taco Bells and tension wires and windswept parking lots, there's something good to be found. It says, "Come on in. Have a seat next to me. Drink from my cup. Here, anything might happen." And I'll read one poem from Mezzanines, which was my first book. This was actually from a series of poems that I had been writing about, where this guy was trying unsuccessfully to wish someone a happy birthday. And this is the only one of those poems that made it in here. Any of you guys have a birthday coming up? I totally wrote this about for you, like you right there. This is a birthday poem, and I feel much better knowing that you'll finally hear this. Notes regarding happiness. Sorry, I didn't mean to post that message 19 times on your Facebook page. What I meant to do was wish you a happy birthday. Instead, here are 30 random characters, followed by 15 more, followed by an exclamation point. These messages must look like a language from the future, classified codes that will take years to decipher. They aren't. The only thing these signals say is that I'm bad at computers, the way continents are bad at crossing oceans to touch other continents, or the way planets are bad at breaking from their orbits and setting off on their own. Even light has limitations. As eon after eon, it barrels forward unstoppable. Yes, light is bad at changing its mind, so it continues to tumble in the same direction, the way I continue to pummel the same enter key, amazed each time at all the nothing that happens. So technology can also be accused. Let no wire go without blame. Let no microchip be absolved. Remember when that plane left Brazil and was swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean? No one could figure out what happened until one day leading minds of the industry said it was a computer error. 19 times today my computer screen has said, sorry, there has been an error. What I'm saying is, if Dell made a passenger jet instead of this laptop computer, we'd have crashed 19 times by now. 19 times we'd be dead, trapped underwater, the weight of the ocean pressing down on us like a billion barbells, and if we weren't dead yet, we'd still be trapped underwater, which is even worse if one considers the sharks. Let's consider the sharks. I'm from Michigan, where sharks are only considered in late-night horror movie marathons. Sharks get a bad rap in those deals. A shark will put you in its mouth because you are delicious, but a man will do much worse because he thinks you stole your parking space. Because he thinks you stole his parking space. You didn't steal anything, but at your funeral, your aunt will try to comfort the grieving by saying, well, you know the Lord works in mysterious ways. Your nephew will consider these mysterious ways, and if these mysterious ways involve shark attacks, he might grow up to be an atheist. Religion? Perhaps that's what's wrong with my internet. On the day my wireless connection betrayed me, there was an article online about the Westboro Baptist Church. To get from Topeka, Kansas up to Michigan, their little convoy of hate traveled a network of American highways like poison moving through the roads of the body to protest a high school play. It was my old high school. The play was the Laramie Project, about the death of Matthew Shepard. Here come the church folk. Here come their picket signs that say God hates you and God will kill you. And honestly, when I thought of your birthday, I did not intend to write about the Westboro Baptist Church, a subject guaranteed to make birthday letters fail. The way computers fail, the way engines of airplanes fail, the way some gods will fail to convince their followers to treat each other with any level of kindness. Let's call this one big-ass mountain of failure. Let's grab some ladders and grappling hooks. Let's try to climb over the mess we've made of this place. I am trying to do that. I am sitting in front of a blue screen, hitting a button over and over, trying to send you the following message. Hello, I am your friend, and I am wishing you happiness. Thank you, guys.